Welcome to the Narrowing Path, walking the spiritual walk. My name is Steve Van Einstein. Thank y'all for joining me again tonight as we do today's daily reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations. This, of course, will be fresh to you, fresh to me, meaning that you'll get my genuine response, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading, as this will be the first time that I hear it or read it right here on this podcast with y'all. So I'm looking forward to it. It's been a good couple of days. Last week or so has been really, really good, and I'm interested to see where this takes us. So let's go ahead. We'll do the November 9th reading of James Allen's Daily Meditations. The moral universe is sustained and protected by the perfect balance of its equivalents. Is there, then, no injustice in the universe? There is injustice, and there is not. It depends upon the kind of life and the state of consciousness from which a man looks out upon the world and judges. The man who lives in his passion sees injustice everywhere. The man who has overcome his passion sees the operation of justice in every department of human life. Injustice is the confused, feverish dream of passion, real enough to those who are dreaming it. Justice is a permanent reality in life, gloriously visible to those who have awakened out of the painful nightmare of self. As in the physical world, nature abhors a vacuum, so in the spiritual world, disharmony is annulled. Wow. It's interesting. I like how it was presented. It's like, yeah, it's there and it's not there. Depends. Just to kind of get you interested almost, right? But I mean, it's bringing it back to the purification process. It's bringing it back to perspective and how you actually think about everything. All right, let's go through this line by line. The moral universe is sustained and protected by the perfect balance of its equivalents. So we're talking about balance. We're talking about, I mean, that is justice, right? Perfect balance of its equivalents. So the cause and the effect. So injustice would mean there is no cause, right? I believe so. I think that would be the definition, in at least in this context. So, is there then no injustice in the universe? There is injustice, and there is not. It depends. He poses the question: is there then no injustice in the universe? There is. Then he says there is injustice, and there is not. So, it's interesting. It depends upon the kind of life and the state of consciousness from which a man looks out upon the world and judges. So, okay, so now it's coming back to the man himself. It's coming back to how we look at things. It's coming back to what we're looking for and how we see the world, our perception of things again, right? These are the things we have to really be serious about. We have to take initiative on and keep our understandings. Our perspective makes all the difference. And yeah, well, we'll keep going. We'll get into it. It depends upon the kind of life and the state of consciousness. So it's also the decision. So the decisions you make, so the kind of life and the state of consciousness, how you think, from which a man looks out and judges the world. The man who lives in his passion sees injustice everywhere. So if you're an emotional person, if you're driven by pleasure and desire, you're going to see injustice everywhere. So short term, so immediate. Your perspective dependent upon your emotional state at the time, your body's physical feelings, which is always variable at best. So if you live in those things, if you live that way of life, you will see injustice everywhere. It's just a fact. because that's how your mind's trained to look at things. The man who has overcome passion sees the operation of justice in every department of human life. So if you're not living in your emotions, if you're living in the spiritual realm, let's say, or the realm above human passion, you can see cause and effect. You can see how one thing is linked to another. You can see how a person's selfishness and self-centeredness can actually bring about the reality that they're living in, and they didn't even know that an action they took weeks ago caused this situation to occur. It's this justice that we're looking for. It's right there in front of us. And when you can zoom out enough and take an honest look, and you can connect these dots and you can see how this whole thing weaves together, there's peace in that actually, because you don't feel wronged. You understand that's how the world works. You understand that for every cause, even the ones you've put out into the world, there is a reaction, whether we like that or not. It's just not fun. Injustice is the confused, feverish dream of passion, real enough to those who are dreaming it. So it just seems real. It seems real and present. I've lived in both. I've lived in both substantially, actually. The in passions and above them. Conquered, hopefully. At least I'd like to think so. And I can tell you, injustice seemed very real when I was in that passion driven state, when I was in that emotion and desire fueled time of my life. The world just didn't seem right. The world just didn't seem fair. I felt wronged. I felt most people were wronged. I couldn't see it. I was too close to it. I was too unstable. And I think part of me just didn't want to, because I'd have to accept responsibility that I wasn't ready to accept yet. So it does feel real. Injustice is the confused, feverish dream of passion, real enough to those dreaming. It's true. That's why he says it does exist. But then he says there is not. Justice is the permanent reality in life. Injustice is a fever dream, meaning it's not real, it's imagined, it's illusion. It's a temporary perspective that some just hold on to. Justice is the permanent reality in life. Justice is what will always be and will always happen. Justice is the permanent reality and like gloriously visible to those who have awakened out of the painful nightmare of self. And it is painful, let me tell you. Living in self is no fun. Living a life that serves only the pleasure and desires of yourself isn't fun. It's a hard state to be. It's a regular life of peaks and valleys, inconsistencies and sorrows and grief and excitement. It's a roller coaster that I just wanted to get off of. So when I started living this way of life, when I started walking this path and I was awakened out of that painful nightmare of self, there was such relief and then so much joy for being able to be blessed with the freedom of that. Something that I will always be grateful for. So, all right, now it ends with this. As in the physical world, nature abhors a vacuum. So in the spiritual world, disharmony is annulled. Hey, I like that. Disharmony is annulled. It's not actually there. It's canceled out by something on the other side of it, right? For every cause, there's an effect. For every effect, there was a cause. There's not something that spontaneously just happens. It's one thing that leads to the next thing. We just have to see it. So, well, all right. That was a short one this evening, but that's how it goes sometimes. So, all right. Well, thank y'all for joining me again tonight. I'm looking forward to the 20th tomorrow to see how it goes. We're getting to the tail end of November, and I'll be back then. So, until next time. Thanks.